Good morning or good night, Gacha Kingdom. Today's video protagonist today is a harumasa, as you can see from the title of this video. The lazy, closest thing that we got to a twink, bro, but romantically, asaba harumasa. This entire video revolves around a tweet that I saw about a month ago from Twitter user myyabi about the harumasa figure. 0 plot relevance, 0 reruns, 7 appearances on merchandise, and random trailers. Random tasers. Breaking down this tweet real quick. 0 plot relevance, kind of true. Like, he did save us from Bringer, and then like Sarah was like, oh well, instead of making harumasa an ethereal, I'll just make Bringer stronger, and then that's how like we get the Bringer fights, and that's about it. Like, that's in the grand scheme of things, like that is the biggest contribution that harumasa has given us in the main story. Recently, harumasa was essentially just Soukaku's babysitter, so that Miyabi could help us fight Sarah again, and then Yanagi could do like the co-op story, whatever like hoyoverse cooked up for the co-op event. I haven't played that event yet, but harumasa and Soukaku are nowhere to be found. Why? Because harumasa has to look after Soukaku. Second part of this tweet is very true. They gave this man out for free, and then like the wenjin of pills, and we could pull on him, but like, a lot of people didn't pull for harumasa. If they were spending money, they were more than likely spending money on miyabi. But like the true dedicated harumasa fans, I see you. Y'all got his wenjin, y'all made him naked, like very few of you. Because afterwards, like, this man took a vacation. Instead of on the battlefield, they were like, nah, bro, like, you got a fat stack of paperwork you still got to do. And this man was like, oh, man, I'm not on the battlefield. Well, I guess that sucks. Push some pens and stuff, and then falls asleep. Like, it's super apparent, like, who's been playing this game for a long time and who hasn't, when I'm watching account reviews by Dad the 7th, and they don't have harumasa, because if you don't have harumasa, then you more than likely weren't around during the entire 1.0 patch, unless you joined right afterwards when you wanted to pull for Astra and Astra's girlfriend, which, you know, that's fair. Or Hugo Vlad. Counter argument, you missed out on a free twink. So, all of that aside, like some kelp french fries, let's get to the Krabby Patty of this video. We're going to be talking about merchandise. Ah, capitalism! If you've been in the Gacha Kingdom for long enough, you would remember that I used to be an anime figure channel. And I still get anime figures from time to time. It's just that, well, I live in the US, so that stuff has gotten expensive. I don't usually post about anime figures anymore. However, I still keep up with everything that releases and stuff. I get excited when, obviously, harumasa gets a figure. Yippee! Ever since having this obsession of buying microplastics of my favorite husbands and wives, I've learned a thing or two about how companies decide which characters to make figures of, instead of just giving them the usual character merchandise treatment of an acrylic stand, a wall scroll, a tin can badge, a shikishi board, a sticker, and whoever else that they can put their face on hitting the same pose. It's given Lizzo channel vibes. Generally speaking, when it comes to anime figures, manufacturers usually only make figures of characters that are really popular or characters that they know that will sell, because you don't want to put a bunch of time, resources, and money into making a figure and then having that figure immediately just bargain bin at 80% off because no one wants to buy the figure because now you're at a loss. Well, for the most part, there are some figures that release and you're like, what the, who, but like, who is buying this? The vice versa problem is when a company announces that they're going to make a figure of a very popular character, like Zhao Genshin Impact's Nendoroid, for example, and then it takes them 3 years to finally give us a prototype, and it's still not out yet. Do y'all just not like money? Like, what's going on? Now, let's apply this logic of either making figures of popular characters and or making figures of characters that will sell at full retail price and not hit the bargain bin to Zenless Zone Zero's figure catalog. To nobody's surprise, Miyabi's sitting at the most figures at 4, with Ellen Jo following up behind her with 3 figures. There's quite a few characters sitting at 2 figures right now, which include Billy, Ambi, one of OG Ambi and one of her Silver Soldier outfit, Belle, Wise, Von Lycan, and Harumasa. Characters that are currently sitting at 1 figure right now is Nicole, Nekomata, Rina, Corin, Coleta, Grace, Astra, Evelyn, Yanagi, Jane, and Seth. All 50 of us Seth fans have just rejoiced to the fact that Seth is getting a figure before anybody else in the Sons of Caledon is getting a figure, which, saying that out loud, is kind of crazy. I mean, like, literally nobody in the Sons of Caledon is getting a figure. I guess figure manufacturers and hoyoverse just don't believe in any of them. Here's a visual representation of which characters have figures and how many figures do these characters have. Now, as we can see with our eyeballs, Harumasa is above a lot of characters that either have no figures or they have 1 figure. Granted, the characters that do have 1 figure are generally priced above both Harumasa figures combined, but that's semi-besides the point. Because with Harumasa's figures both being a lot more affordable compared to Jane's figure, for example, because that's what I'm comparing it to right now, there's more chance that Harumasa fans will actually pick up Harumasa's figures compared to Jane fans being like, oh, well, $200, $200 dues, that kind of a lot. Well, unless you got her naked, then I mean, like, you already spent $2,000 on naked Jane Doe, so what's another $200, you know what I mean? Then everything kind of balances itself out. If anything, Harumasa might make more money for Hoyoverse because there might be more Harumasa figure sales compared to Jane Doe figure sales. If Harumasa made 100,000 figure sales compared to Jane Doe, which maybe might get like 50,000 figure sales, then like the profit margins between those two might be about the same. But if Harumasa makes 1 million figure sales with his figures and Jane Doe is still sitting at 50,000, then Hoyoverse and whoever made these figures has just made bank. Looking at this metric really closely, it's really funny that Von Lycan and Harumasa are getting a buff next update. Somebody in the legal team of Hoyoverse must have gone down to Zenless Zone's dev team and was like, dude, Harumasa's made more money on merch sales than he has in your guys' own damn fucking game. I know you guys gave out Harumasa for free, and then you guys ran him right next to Miyabi, and everyone and their mama spent money on Miyabi instead of Harumasa, but like, he's really popular, and this man's made like $100 million. So like, why didn't you guys rerun him? And then like the Zenless Zone dev team must have been like, yeah, about that. And all of this is just hypothetical figure sales because we don't know how many pre-orders people are putting in for these Harumasa figures. However, we do know statistics of his character good sales, or at least for the most part. From my experience going to anime conventions and a booth has Hoyoverse merch, more than likely, if they have the entire roster of Zenless Zone merch there, Harumasa might be one of the characters that isn't there because they're sold out already. This man has got stands and they are hungry. And as I said 2 minutes ago, the Hoyoverse legal team probably looked at how much money Harumasa was making on merchandise sales alone and compared it to how much money Harumasa made in-game when he released, and they were like, fuck it, we need to make as much money as possible from this man because the Zenless Zone dev team clearly dropped the ball. We need to put him in the Fanta collab, we need to put him in a Rockstar outfit, we need to put him in a bunny suit outfit, we need to sell his bath water. And this news came around to the dev team, and the dev team is like sweating bullets and they're like, oh my god, we is screwed. I think the most interesting thing about this metric, other than the fact that nobody in the Sons of Caledon has a figure yet, is the fact that Seth of all people has a figure. I mean, like, Seth has fans, like dedicated fans that are like sleeper agents. The moment you mention Seth, like they all come out of the woodworks and they like pounce at you for the fact that, oh my god, Seth mentioned? No way. I feel like people in the 1 and 0 category, there's a lot more popular characters that I would expect to have figures by now, and Seth has one. I could be like completely like oblivious, like this is all going like r/whoosh past my head, and like Goodsmile Company and Hoyoverse are making 100 gabillion dillion dennies off of Seth's and nendoroid pre-orders right now. So I mean, like, what do I know? What I do know is that if the Zenazone Zero nendoroid market is anything like the Honkai Staro nendoroid market, then I expect Hugo Vlad to get a nendoroid very soon. And also I expect to get more gay men as nendoroids very soon. I'm watching you, Hoyo. Please, good smile. Please, please. Oh my god, please.